So my name's Natalie, I am an apprentice in the Care and Public Department, and today I'm here with James Cook, and he is a director, a team manager in the Care and Public Department, and also a solicitor. I'm going to be interviewing him about his personal life as well as his work life. So James, do you have any pets, and if so, what are their names?
I do. I have two cats. One is a tabby called Chutney, and the second cat is a black and white cat called Ketchup.
And what is your biggest achievement so far?
Well, I think it can be a variety of things. Personally, I got married, and that was obviously an amazing achievement for me. Professionally, becoming a director at the firm several years ago now, and seeing how the firm has grown over the years is also an achievement in itself. Through my work is the achievements I make in relation to my cases and the impact that has on my clients, whether that's for the parents or for the children.
Perfect. And if you were stuck on a desert island and had all the food, water and shelter that you needed, what personal 3 items would you bring?
I would take a book, probably Great Expectations by Charles Dickens,
Good choice.
as it is my favourite book. Secondly, I would take probably a knife to make sure that I could hunt and chop down trees or fruit in order to survive. And the third thing would be probably binoculars to look out at sea and to see the wildlife as I was there as well.
And who was/is your inspirational person?
I think it depends upon, at various aspects of my life. Obviously my parents, and in particular my father, would have been an inspirational person for me from a personal perspective and the successes he had in his line of work. He was in banking. But from the legal point of view, I think who's inspired me whilst I've been at Ridley Hall would have been Nigel Priestley, the senior partner. When I joined approximately 16 years ago, I shared an office with him, and really it was from his guidance and his the information he passed on to me, and his attitude towards cases and his lack of fear of fighting actually has really helped me over the years in developing as a person and as a solicitor.
And do you have a competitive nature?
Very much so. One of the things that I like to do is play games when I'm with friends at times, and I'm very competitive. Also, if there's any aspects of sport, I am quite competitive. I like running, and so all those things always have some aspect of competitiveness. But also, even in the work, the nature of litigation is that it is competitive in a different front. You want to succeed, you want to do the best for clients, and so there's always that aspect there, and that does kind of give you satisfaction at the end of the day.
Perfect. So now more work-related questions. Do you ever, how often do you have to bite your tongue when giving a client advice?
I think the nature of my work is dealing with people in their personal lives. Over the years, I have heard an awful lot of different things, and so very little surprises me these days. What one person may think is perfectly normal, another person will think is very strange, and certainly those who don't do this work won't have experienced some of the accounts that clients give and their justifications for that. I think you have to have empathy and you have to have an understanding when speaking to clients. I think that's the important thing. So it's not so much as biting your tongue, but trying to understand why they are saying that and then explaining to them maybe why that isn't the best way of looking at things, and trying to explain to them an alternative. Clearly there are some accounts that are given are more elaborate or more unusual, but I think it's important that you listen and then you explain to the clients going forward. In relation to hearings, that's often where you hear information which sometimes you haven't heard for the first time, and in those circumstances I think it can be hard when it's taken by surprise. But it's a skill you just learn, you listen, and you make notes, and that you learn to come back to the clients in due course when you get a chance to re-examine them.
Perfect. And is there anything about the law that you practice that you think needs changing or is draconian in any way, and if so, what and why?
Well, aspects of my workload are draconian. I'm dealing with cases which involve adoption and the separation of children from their families. The very nature of that is some of the most draconian orders a court can make. And so from an everyday perspective, you learn to see and cope with very harrowing situations. And for however long I do this, I will never get used to the effects that adoption cases have on parents. For whatever the reasons why they may occur, it is extremely upsetting, and you have to have empathy and sympathy in relation to that. The law is ever changing, and that's the benefit of law. Case law always makes it evolve over a period of time, and so you have that input in relation to that by the cases that you have, and cases get appealed, and that does alter the law, and it does affect the future of cases, so they're ever changing as well.
Perfect. And if you hadn't trained as a solicitor, what kind of job would you see yourself doing?
Well, when I was young, I wanted to be a dentist. However, I soon learnt that that wasn't going to be the job for me, as I don't like blood particularly. And so whilst I initially thought it would be fine, it would just be fillings and kind of, cleaning the teeth and all of that, when it came to the surgical aspects, I realised that I wasn't going to bode very well. So I changed my mind on that and went into the law instead.
Good choice. So have you got any advice for any upcoming paralegals or solicitors in the care and public sector?
I think for all younger members, it's a matter of working hard and listening and taking on board and not being afraid to give it a go. I look back and when I was first qualified or when I was training and the advocacy I did then, and I was very much a different person to who I am now, and because that's just through skills and you develop that over time. But unless you try, you're never going to develop, and you always are continuing to evolve as a professional and as an advocate as well. And that's still the case now. So I would always say to keep on trying on everything, be given the opportunity and grab it with both hands and run with it. And don't be afraid to do the hard work. And whilst you may feel nervous or apprehensive, once you've done that, it will actually give you great sense of achievement. And that's something you can then use and build upon on the next occasion. And if things don't go according to plan, don't take it to heart. Learn from it and move forward. And certainly I know at Ridley and Hall we're very supportive and we encourage people to try and build upon their skills, because that only benefits us, the clients, and the firm as a whole in the future.
That's great advice. And have you got any advice for managing stress and anxiety in your job role?
I think it's very much an individual thing, and everybody copes in a different way. For me, I will go for runs of an evening in order to cope with it, and I think talking to friends or other halves is an extremely important way of dealing with it. I think that works for me. It may work differently for you, it may work differently for other people in my team, but I think it's important to talk and to be able to have that open conversation, and if you are struggling, to say so. And support can be given in a variety of forms within the team as well. It is something, given the nature of the work, that it is stressful at times. Clients are demanding, the work is demanding, and the work can be harrowing at times. But you learn to deal with that. Talking to your colleagues at other firms helps, and having that camaraderie amongst the people in my team is a real positive thing in dealing with that.
And have you ever had a case which you have struggled to deal with due to the nature of it, and if so, what made it difficult?
Generally, I can cope well with the cases. There is always some cases where are more demanding because of a variety of reasons. It may be because of the difficulties that the client has, and they take up more of your time. And when you have a wide selection of cases, it can be quite hard to always commit that time, but you have to do that. It's the job, and you have to adapt accordingly, and that can be long hours at times. The one case that always sticks to my mind was a case involving animals, and that will be a case I found quite harrowing in a very different way to normal. It's slightly odd that I say that, but being a pet owner, sometimes it's those kind of things that stick in your mind. But there are other cases which there have been horrible things happen, and you do remember those cases as well. And you always are glad when sometimes those cases come back and there's been a happy ending at the end of it, because that also makes a difference, and you know that what you achieved during the original case and then subsequently has made a real difference to that family and that individual.
And why does being a childcare solicitor make you get up in the morning?
I think it's the variation of the work. You never quite know where the day is going to go. You can try and plan, but it's extremely hard. You can get a call in the morning, a call in the afternoon, and suddenly you're in court. Things happen, it's unexpected, and the cases vary. No one case is the same, and at the end of the day, you do feel you're making a difference. What you do has an impact on people's lives, and if and when it works well and clients listen and they follow the advice and they put in the hard work, which the majority of the clients are, then you can get a real positive outcome. And even if there has been a separation of a child from a parent, then a lot of the times that can be changed and there can be rehabilitation, and that's a great thing to see families brought back together.
And when you became a care lawyer, were you thrown in at the deep end, per se? If so, did this help with your development as a solicitor or hinder it?
Well, when I trained, I did a lot of immigration work at the time, and then I transferred back into my family seat upon qualifying. And then when I joined Ridley and Hall, I worked under Nigel Precy, as I mentioned earlier. And certainly when I came here, I was thrown into relatively the deep end on several occasions, and certainly I remember, I think it was my second day I was going to court for one of Nigel's cases. And actually that helps, because sometimes you need that kind of being thrown in order to manage. And as long as you've got lifeguards around you, so to speak, that enables you to do that. And that certainly is something I actually, looking back, think has been a very positive thing, because you learn to adapt, you learn to look at how am I going to do this, how am I going to get over that problem. And if it's fed to you, then it's very hard for you to develop that in your skill set. By being in that place and having to do it yourself, enables you to start thinking, and that actually helps you become a better solicitor at the end of the day.
And finally, are there judges who are more challenging than others? And if so, do you have any tips on how to handle them?
Yes, there are. And that'll be the same throughout any part of the country. There are some judges who are more difficult for a variety of reasons. And that doesn't mean just because they're more challenging, they are more problematic to be before. You have to, in any judge, know your case. You need to know what you want to say, and you need to know the case and the background behind it. It's their job to question you. You're there to help the judges at the end of the day, and therefore they will no doubt ask you questions, and they won't sometimes question what you're saying, but that is to help them come to the right decision at the end of the day. So yes, there are some judges who are more challenging, but that's the nature of the job, and they're only doing their own job in being so.
That's the end of our Q&A. Thank you very much, James, for coming and speaking to me today. It's been very enlightening, and I wish you all the best for your future cases.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.